All right, we are live, and the New York Mets are basically the weather outside right now. Absolute crap, making me wonder if life is even worth living anymore. That's kind of where I am. There's just a gray cloud over my life, and I'm not sure if it was the Mets that placed it there or Mother Nature, but it's goddamn hell. So we're going to get through this episode. We're going to go through it all together, holding hands. We might have lost one of us along the way, but nonetheless, we're going to be fine, and we're going to be fine because what we're going to do, we're going to chill out with our Coors Light because we got to believe, as always, is presented by Coors Light. From day-to-day annoyances to the big stuff life throws your way, it's easy to get worked up. Mets fans, my blood pressure right now, worked up another level. Another level, Kevin. So if you want to chill, you got to reach for a Coors Light. When you embrace the chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Shout out to Coors Light for being the perfect sponsor for all of us who then sponsor each other to get through life as a Mets fan, because there was sun once upon a time on opening day. That sun is now gone, and it's replaced by people named Seymour Weiner. It's the Seymour Weiner season. But when you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light, get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado, Punch and Cake. 1 year, I promise. I don't know when, though. Kevin, you counseled. The floor is yours.
Brother, first of all, let me say Coors Light really is the perfect sponsor. Because, like, pharmaceutical heroin is not allowed. That would be the perfect sponsor. Otherwise, we'll take our beautiful Coors Light. I consulted. I feel good about my consult. I feel, horrible.
You fucking better feel good about it in terms of the performance.
I'm not happy I consulted. And as always, I hope I'm wrong. But I've said it before. How long have we doing the podcast? Everybody understands the consult by now. If you don't, it's a story from way back in the day where my buddy who was illiterate was trying to say cancel the season, and he said cancel the season, and that's just been our rallying cry the moment you know that your team's out of it and your season is over. And that can happen on October 1st at the very end of the year. It can happen before April. And when you've been doing it as long as I've been doing it and watching this team as long as I've been watching, you just know. And sometimes it might not even, maybe in your head, you're like, in my head, I was like, it's still too early. But in my heart, when that 3-run bomb, when that ball connected in extra innings, I was actually DMing with a fan who said, like, hey, man, we're going to need Coors Light all season. And I was like, you better believe it. And then the ball got hit. And I was like, that's it. That's it. It was a console level event for a console level start in a season that, I said 80 wins. I was trying to be somewhat positive for the podcast here. I never thought we were going to get out of the 70s to begin with. And now I'm thinking we're going to win like 65 ball games. This team is putrid. And I want to give a thanks to anybody watching right now, live particularly, and anybody still watching the podcast. You're sick. You're a sick pup. It's crazy enough to still watch the team, let alone to still watch us. So I appreciate you riding with us. We will be here the whole goddamn year, no matter how bad it is. But when you're trotting out Tyrone Taylor batting cleanup, when you've got Joey Wendell making extra inning errors, when you've got DJ Stewart as your DH, what's his name? I can't even remember it.
Hauser.
I call him Hooser because who the fuck are you? I don't even know these fucking scrubs. And it's just like, I can't, it's not a football season. It's not like, let's just tune in every Sunday and have some fun. To be grinding it out for the next 8 months is lunacy. And I'll still be here. But anybody, I had people being like, it's early. Don't worry. We're still going to win the division. Like shit like that. Get out of your you're out of your treehouse. What are you looking at that gives you any sense that we're going to even remotely contend, let alone win the division that includes the Atlanta Braves? What are you fucking seeing that I'm not? And even the guys who are good, it's like, it's like Lindor got off to a slow start. It's like, God, I wish just once he would get off to a hot start so we wouldn't have to deal with this. Because he's going to get there in the end. He's going to have 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. He's going to be a top 5 shortstop. But right now, it really fucking sucks. and Pete Alonso's going to hit all his bombs, but he's going to bat like a $190, and it's just going to be ugly the whole fucking way. And I know I said I was going to be positive about Jeff McNeil, and that lasted one goddamn second. That guy stinks. And the only, and I mean only thing that I had that entertained me this week was Seymour Weiner. A gift from the comedic gods, a gift or a curse, however you want to see it, from the Mets gods. It doesn't matter if Steve Cohen owns the team or the Wilpons own the team. It doesn't matter if you're going to the World Series or you're canceling in March. The Mets just have these things that happen. And announcing a 100-year-old World War II veteran who's standing there like, and they go, Seymour Weiner. If it wasn't for that, there would not be one single thing I want to discuss about the week of Mets baseball. That's the only thing I want to talk about today, because that's the only thing we had. It's that bad, that quickly.
Let's be honest. This is the Seymour Weiner season. When we look back, there is the 2015 was the Yo season, and then you have 86 was 86. Obviously, you had the Dickey season.
The team, the time, the Mets. The time is now. 2024. Seymour Weiner.
Seymour Weiner. It is what it is, and it feels like we have set the path along the way. I feel partially responsible as your sponsor to not have tried to defuse the console.
You couldn't.
The train was going to run me over. You console after 11 at night, I'm probably fucking sleeping.
Listen, I don't want anybody.
On April 1st of all things, I had to watch the full-length video to make sure it wasn't at the end.
No.
Is this the earliest console you've had?
No, well, so
definitely on the podcast.
He consoled opening days for Bobby Parnell. That's infamous. And I don't know if that was before April 1st or
So there's different consoles. There's years where, 2013, I guess. It's like we never had a fucking chance. So and I never thought we had a chance here. But with the second wild card and, just a couple stars, it's like this is probably the best team that I've ever consoled this early. Like, there's a chance they still win like 80 games and people are like, you were wrong or something. So, yeah, I would say this is the earliest and like literally because of the calendar, like we almost didn't make it to fucking April. There was a part of me that wanted to do it during March. I gave it, a couple extra days. But that when you know. And I honestly didn't do it immediately. Usually I write like, boom, like that Addison Reed Mother's Day home run. Before the ball hit the fucking stands, I had tweeted console. And I waited because I was like, we do have the podcast and I don't want to, I want everybody to know I gave up that quickly. And I was like, nope, when it's in your heart, it's in your heart. So Clem and all my sponsors, all my Mets fans anonymous out there, there's nothing anybody could have done. Don't feel any responsibility. That, like you said, the train was leaving the station and nobody was stopping that.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that if last year was 2022 and all the fun that we had last year leading to the first 4 games, you don't console.
Oh, yeah, no way.
2023, slowly bled us out. It was almost like an auto correction because 2022 was so much fun. And thank God we cherished 2022 as much as we did because there were so many people who were miserable the entire time. And I'm not talking about Frankie has his thing. There were so many other Mets fans who were just like, oh, this team, this, and it didn't end nearly where we wanted to. But it wasn't because of the stuff we were complaining about all year. If
you didn't enjoy 2022, you haven't enjoyed a season in a decade. And meanwhile, again, it didn't end well. But that summer, that year on the podcast, on Twitter, watching games was we won 75% of our games, 3 out of every 4 games. It was amazing. And people took the time to get mad about that when it's these are the seasons you should reserve all your hatred for.
Yeah. So 2023, it's not like Kevin just had the heart attack out of nowhere. It's he was in a bad place for all of 23, then we lost him the first week of 2024. It is what it is. It's sad. We're still going to have you. You're still going to be living and dying with the roller coaster. It's just you don't think the Mets can do it. Now, the beauty of this podcast is now we have someone who is on the opposite side. The young whippersnapper still has hope in his belly. Now, granted, he's a Mets fan, so there's only so much. It's the ceiling only goes so high.
I don't think look at Meek. I don't think he's
I got to check it up on Meek Phil here.
I have hope in me? I mean,
I don't think anybody has any hope. Do you?
If Meek doesn't, Meek isn't. This is the thing. Meek isn't stupid. I'm just gonna believe yada yada yada. but like he usually has a little more fight in him because he's younger. We've seen this shit.
Yes.
Is there still a chance this team wins 81, 84 games? Yeah, sure. There's a chance of anything happening. There's a mathematical chance of that happening. That's a fact, assuming we don't get rained out, which I wouldn't hate. But this team stinks.
This team stinks.
This point blank, we went into this season not expecting much, and we haven't gotten much. I really
you got even less.
Talk about. We have in 3 of the 4 games we've scored 1 run or less, and in the game we scored a bunch of runs. It was all in garbage time, so I'm not even counting all that. I guess a positive 3rd lowest ERA in the majors. I don't know how that's possible.
That's incredible.
But
I would have bet literally my life that was not the case. I guess that one great start from Minaya helped, but I mean, like, that ain't lasting. If that's what if we're gonna bank on good pitching to carry us through, and that's not carrying anytime soon.
We haven't even gotten JD Martinez in a lineup yet to where it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. And that's the annoying part. You look at the top 5 of the lineup, you're like, okay, you see Nimmo, Lindor, you see Alonso, Alvarez, add JD. You're like, oh, these are some names. And then it's like they still just can't hit.
Yeah, so the only thing is, like, there is, if you told me, like, here's a baseball team that's going to have Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, JD Martinez, and Edwin Diaz, I'd be like, you'll be all right. Like, you'll be okay. And I think that's just where the Mets effect comes in. It's just like, I don't know. It's just not there is something. I think this team and this core, if you will, has been around long enough where sometimes in baseball, it's like, I don't know, it's not working. Maybe there is something in the clubhouse. Maybe all those whispers we've heard about for years are true. Who was homeboy who blew the whole thing up with the Athletic article? Punched the guy in the face. What's his name?
Tim Healy?
No.
He wasn't Athletic. Tim Britton.
No, the guy. Who's the guy with the fantasy team who punched the guy?
Tommy Pham. Your boy,
Tommy Pham. Yeah, like all the things that Tommy Pham said. Like, maybe there's truth to all that, maybe. And I used to be like, come on, like, that's bullshit, or like, these guys are professionals. We might be at the point where it's like, these guys, there are good players, and baseball sometimes it just isn't meshing. I don't know.
I will say I've heard more of people saying blow it up already 4 games into the season, of like, the core doesn't work. Like, the pieces, it's a round, square peg, round hole type of situation where, McNeil, when he's not the batting champion, he's a mopey little bitch, and he brings everybody else in the dugout down. And it's like, if that's the guy who's going to be like, he seems like, and like, obviously friend of the pod, been on the pod, like, nothing against him as a person, but like, the second he doesn't get a hit and he comes back in the dugout throwing shit, everybody else like, deflates.
So it's one of those things where if you're the batting champion and you throw your helmet or you fucking scream, you're fired up. And if you're not, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. That's just how
get off to some sort of a start before you start doing that. You know what I mean? Like, just
honestly, the whole Reese Hoskins thing blew up in our face, and like, it wouldn't have been a thing if he has, that was a dirty slide. We can talk more about that if you want, but like, he has the right to do that. But also, it's like that whole thing blew up in our faces as fans. We look like fucking assholes, and if you didn't react, it just wouldn't have been a thing. So calm your shit, because all of it leads to more problems than good.
I said it at the time, and it's easy to say when you're just sitting on your couch, like, eating pretzels versus being in a game with other fucking athletes. I was like, if you're that man, Jeff, just start throwing punches. And like, let's just, whatever's been boiling with this team for like a year, 2 years, like, that was the one thing about Buck. It was always like, turn the other cheek. It's like, no. Buck's gone. We're going to start fighting motherfuckers now. Yeah. And I would have been fine with that. And then the next game, Severino, welcome to the Mets, plunked these motherfuckers. And instead, nothing happens. Guy plunks him in like the 8th inning when the game's over.
After he's 4 RBIs and has been fucking us up and down the field.
Motherfucking us.
Right. Like, Reese Hoskins became a Met killer in, a matter of innings. It was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, you could not have done that more wrong. And even, like you said, if the Mets did everything Clem just described, I think it would have been like an overreaction, and we probably would have looked like assholes, but we would have had like some sort of identity. It would have been like, yeah, we're fucking crazy, man. Like, don't fuck with us. We take everything personal. We're nuts. And instead it was like, are we, man? Are we not? Did he throw? Did he not? You're suspended. You suck. He fucked us up. The whole thing. We just look like clowns.
We have not led for 34 straight innings since the Marte home run. Since the Marte home run, we have not led in a game at any point. Now, the 2005 Mets started 0-5. They ended up with 83 wins. I don't remember that rotation, but I do know that was the lead in to 2006.
Yeah, I mean, they had
Two
Pedro
very different
Martinez.
teams.
They
You
had
have one on the
Carlos
way up, you have one on the way
Beltran.
down.
That team was on the way, man.
And by the way, I know it's early for Carlos Mendoza, but like, I don't think he's Omar Minaya or Buck Showalter where he's going to get to that level that quickly because
No,
he tells it like it is, and he tells you straight. He's like, "Oh, I didn't like what I saw out there." It's like, no, dude, like you seem like you have no pulse on the team whatsoever.
Right.
no. He lost me in the second game, just like we said.
Insane.
Like, how he handled Reese Hoskins. Like, if Luis Severino drills Reese Hoskins in the ribs first at
Doesn't
bat,
even have to
Luis
hit him,
Severino's
Phil.
a
Just
Mets
high and
legend.
tight. Something.
He's a Mets legend if he does that first at bat. Yes, he's ejected from the game. Yes, we have like athletic writers saying like, "Oh, the Mets are dirty, Mets are this." Who cares? The guys in the clubhouse are close together at that point.
He gets ejected from the game. That helps us because he got
yes, most important part.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's not like they were like, all right, Severino, you have to go do it like mid-game. You go, all right, today's gonna be a bullpen game, boys, because Louis throwing one at his fucking ribs, and you just prepare for it. And instead, and again, maybe it should be like there is,
or wait. By the way, before you finish, like we don't have to make this a big thing. This was not Ruben Tejada breaking his leg. This was not Chase Utley in the playoffs. Like it's game 1 or whatever, and it was kind of, he slid late. Like we also could have just left this the fuck alone.
Keith, like low key did not fuck with it either. He's like, that was just a normal slide in my day. Like he didn't even slide out of the baseline. It was straight into the bag. Yes, it was late, but he's like, they're not used to moving out of the way.
Yeah.
Like receive the pitch and then step and throw. Like, what are you doing?
That was very much like, remember when Manny, there was like some like bad vibes in there, and then Manny got mad at like a pitch that was like a strike, and it was like, it's like, all right, man, like Hoskins has like, he's a habitual line stepper, I guess, in the Mets eye, so they were just looking for a reason to get mad at him, and he did that, and it was like, it was on. But part of me is like, we should have always been like, oh, like the Yankees, they are the class of baseball. They are royalty. They fucking make you shave and get your chains away. I saw you can't, Verdugo has to like take his chains off or whatever. The Mets should be like, those fuckers are crazy. They are the poor kids in the neighborhood. They eat rats, basically.
Yeah, we're the dirt balls.
Yeah, we're the dirt balls.
Yeah.
The only time we were the dirt balls is when we were good in '86.
Right.
We were like the dirt balls, but we were also like could beat you on the field, and then we kick your ass on it as well. So just a tough look all around. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to touch any more on the Reese Hoskins. I know like there's all these different angles of McNeil sliding where I remember that slide. He was getting out of the way of the Braves. We didn't get hit with the ball. And there was this whole Twitter thing.
That screenshot is very misleading. And also it's like, just because that,
You're telling me Braves fans got involved in a situation?
I know, that's the other thing.
The main character? That's insane to me.
It was the perfect storm because you had Braves fans who, I hate to do the rent-free stuff, but it's like, what the fuck are you worrying about this for? And then you also had Phillies fans who still like Reese Hoskins jumping in, and it was like this NL East like mishmash mosh pit where I was like, what? Well, get the fuck out of here. We're fighting with the Brewers. Get out of here, you losers.
If Luis Severino wants to ever take the mound for my team, I need him to give me the head of Chase Utley. Just put it on a spike and be like, my bad, boys. Be like, all right, you're our guy for life now. You're our fucking guy for life. And then just to like add the last bit of fire to this flame. Again, we're doing this once a week, this podcast, and we're just going to load up on stuff and just like have to rehash shit from like a week ago. But then the Mark Vientos like on Instagram where it was, so what did the caption say exactly?
It was like a highlight of the Reese
bodies the Mets.
Yeah, Reese Hoskins owns Mets.
Yeah, I think it was his home run highlight. I think it was like him hitting the home run. Yeah, and Mark Vientos liked it. I mean,
it says Reese Hoskins, all caps, silences Mets crowd with a 2-run shot.
That's
liked
crazy.
By Mark Vientos. Then it was liked by Luis Angel Acuna, right?
Yeah, there's a language barrier there.
There's also that was the first time I was like, wait a minute, he's an Acuna. Like, maybe he doesn't even want to be here. And like Ronald's in his ear being like, we got to get you the fuck out of there. So now I'm like, wait a minute, maybe that trade was terrible. I don't know how I didn't even consider that at one point. I was just thinking he's happy to be in the majors. Like he's, whatever. Now I'm thinking maybe we got the enemy, like, Fox in the hen house. But both of those assholes, this is why as a GM, no social media. Or I'd have a rule, like you'd have to have 10 years of service time. You have to be a Hall of Famer. You have to have, 250 home runs to your name. If you're a scrub, no social media on my team.
You have to like hit levels like all. It's like the in NBA you hit a certain amount of all NBAs you can like be eligible for the max.
Yes.
It's like certain amount of all stars you can then get social.
Then you
media.
can have
like
Twitter. Yeah,
Facebook. You get Facebook. It starts with Facebook, and then it's like go from there. Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of shit. I kind of like that, Kev. You might be onto something.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cohen stuff we've talked about a million times with his tweets. He's learned the hard way of just how fucking mean those Twitter streets can be. But this is like a terrible look because like Vientos, we've all basically given up on.
Oh.
But it's like you start giving up like the guys who I have hope for in the future.
Hey,
And
he's
those guys
poisoning
are
the
getting
well down
something.
there.
Yeah.
I envision him getting like backlash and text messages like, oh, they see that you took it, and then he just took Acuna's phone and liked it too.
Yo, buddy, let me see your phone for a second.
Yeah.
Because it's really funny meme I got to show you.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm an old man now, Clem. I'm very guilty of at night, I'll be on my phone on the couch and I got my phone out. I have Instagram out and I will follow things, like things. It can happen. I don't think it happened to Mark Vientos. I don't think you're a 40-year-old man falling asleep on the couch. I think that was a, you're mad at the team. You already were being a little bitch about not making the team, vocal already. I think that was, just highly stupid. And again, it's just like, we crammed. Keep going down the list, Clem, because we crammed so much into one goddamn week. That's all LOL Mets. It's unbelievable.
This is also, by the way, the equivalent of like you liking some other girl's Instagram.
Yes.
And you have a girlfriend. It's like you're just welcoming. It's a no-win scenario. Like they see you liked it, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
And I know it's good.
I was gonna say people are like saying it's like, oh, you can't like stuff on social media. They're like, it's a normal post.
This is I've said this for years now. To be honest, we're well past this. But like several years ago, people used to be like, we're really gonna care about like who you follow and what you like. And there was a time where it was like, that's not real life. You can't judge them on that. We're well past that. We are living in a digital age, a social media age. What you do on the internet and what your activity is at social media represents who you are. So whether you like it or maybe you didn't mean to, but like get with it because people are going to judge you that way. So figure it out one way or the other.
All right. So moving down the list like this, now that we're once a week, which by the way, I hope there's a point where we go twice a week in the future, years down the road. If we did this twice a week, It would just like, there'd be less of us. We would just slowly start disappearing because we would just have jumped off bridges.
It'd be the Marty McFly picture. We would just slowly fade away.
The next one is our boy Gary Cohen, having to do his little like pre-Mets, during the rain delay, which became a postponement. And he just gives the eye roll of, I don't want to be here, whether or not that's for that night with the weather or I have to go watch this team 159 more times and call these games and go on the road and just another lost season. He did the eye roll. And at that moment, we say Gary, Keith, and Ron speak for all of us. There has never been a moment where they spoke for all of us more than during that fucking eye
I was going to say, I don't know if there's nobody mad at Gary over that one, is there? Because that was the most.
There can't be.
That was the most understandable.
Like, your booth, and it's like, shut the fuck up.
No, listen. That was the most understandable, relatable thing I've ever seen. If SNY just wants to run like beer money during some actual games at this point, I wouldn't even fucking care. Poor those guys. Imagine having to go on the road with this. Like, it's one thing to even have to watch them every night and perform for them every night, but you're on the road doing it. Like, those guys must, by the end of the season, must fucking hate it. And on a night like that, when you knew it was going to get postponed, they got to get ready, get all dolled up, go in front of the camera, get the fuck out of here.
It's a guy. I have to go to Oakland next week for a game no one cares about for like a 3-game series. And so that like we always laugh about Keith too, and Keith would be like, Gary, I got a 10:00 reservation out there. I'm hoping, on Sag Harbor. Hopefully we get this game wrapped up. I don't want he'd sigh when it goes to extra innings. It's like, it's just Keith. That's when the teams are at least like had a little bit of life in them. This is like
and Gary is such a baseball nut. He'll sit there through every game, win, lose, draw. Like he'll score it and love it. He's a baseball nut. If he is fed up, the average fan is like myself is like, get the fuck. No way am I going to put up with this shit.
Yep.
It was right after he had to lie and be like, oh, they said that there's a window in the radar. And like when they canceled the game, they released the time for the following day as 12:10 because they already knew yesterday was getting canceled too. Right. And then they were like, oh, no, sorry, we meant 1:10. And then obviously today's at 12:10. Like you look at that weather, what were we doing?
Clem said it best too. Clem texted the group, and I really mean this. If you went to the stadium that night Pre-crime.
Yeah.
Lock those people up. If you went to Citi Field to watch that team in that weather, thinking that A ball game was going to happen, and B, you were going to be okay watching a 9-inning baseball game in that weather for that quality of team, you are one sick pup. I tip my cap. You're the most diehard fans in the world, all 35 of you that showed up.
And I was going to say, there was a time where our beautiful boy, the freak.
Yeah, you would have been there.
Phil, you would have been there like pre-job, not that far. You could probably get tickets for cheap, some deal. So it's like you're paying through the nose. Could you have seen like a 17-year-old Meek Phil going to that game in the fucking pouring rain, knowing it's probably going to get rained out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm a bit older and I realize that's fucking dumb. So
he would have been there. He would have had his umbrella. He'd be sitting there with Mama Meek, and they would be like, when the camera finds two people just zoomed into their chairs, they would just be waiting for the fucking rain to stop.
I have to find a picture because there was a game, I want to say 2012, where it was me I was showing on ABC where I was in a rain delay. No, there was rain in the game. 10th inning, Mets were losing like 7-1 to the Nats, and it showed me with a towel over my head, just like, what are we doing here? I probably has it somewhere.
Those are the same people, too, that then complain that they paid $40 for parking, and they're like, they just opened up the concessions to steal my money. It's like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
If you're dumb enough to come, they're going to take your money.
We could
also, if you're there, you want a beer. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are the heroes.
Yes.
What did you say, Phil?
Isn't there like new food at Citi Field this year?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason to go at this point.
It got voted. It was voted, I don't know, by some magazine or some shit, #1 food in all the stadiums.
$40 lobster roll right now.
I know that's just the way of the sports and culture is like it's like it's an event, not just a game. But God, I really hate that. That's one of my real old man things. Like if you go to a baseball game and you get like $40 sushi or like a steak or something, like I just don't, that does not compute to me at all. I don't get it.
And you know who reports on that every year? It's Darren Ravel's like scoop. It's the perfect guy to be the guy who's reporting all that. And I will say I couldn't believe the pushback I got. I am very interested in the fucking rainbow cookie with like the cannoli wrapped with a little bit of raspberry jam. Kyle and Kevin are not happy.
Cookie, you can mess up a rainbow cookie by it being too dry, and then they're just shoving raspberry jelly into
rainbow cookies.
Italian and Chinese food does not mix.
Rainbow cookies should be eradicated from the face of the earth, along with any sort of mint chocolate. Throw them in the fucking garbage.
There would be a time on this podcast where we do nothing but talk about cookies.
Yeah,
that's right. It's the only way we could talk about Carrasco.
Right.
Which, by the way, I missed a tweet the other night. They're like, I had to see how the hell Oakland has a lead right now. Look who's pitching for Cleveland. Cookie Carrasco was down 3-0 in the second inning to the A's. I'm like, I can't believe that guy.
Yet still, I would probably suck a dick for Cookie Carrasco at this point.
Oh, God almighty. So Phil has like leveled up to like the second level of Pokemon where he's like, I'm not going to this game in the pouring rain on a 35-degree night. So I'm happy he's made it to that stage. His Charizard stage is the man in the robe right there who consoled the first day of April. So, but to wrap things up, there's help on the way, boys. There's help on the way. And this segment of Help on the Way is presented by DraftKings. Baseball season is finally here. And DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a swing at turning $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any baseball bet. So, hey, listen, if you're a Mets fan, and it's like, well, I don't want to watch these guys anymore. Throw a couple bucks on a baseball game, and hey, you have something to root for that's not the Mets. It's a nice little way to have some fun, maybe with some money, whatever it may be. Let's take a quick look at what's going on today. Non-Mets related. We're going to go non-Mets related games because our heart's already there. You can bet against the Reds. Here we go. Bet against the White Sox. You could do that if you wanted to. Seth Lugo on the bump for the Royals against the White Sox, even though I don't want to bet against the White Sox, Sons of Uribe.
Fuck the White Sox. Bet against them.
Bet against them. You can do that too. Seth Lugo minus 175. Wow. That's where the White Sox are with their minus 175 money line for the Royals at home there. So Seth Lugo, shout out him. He reminds you of the good old days. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BELIEVE. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code BELIEVE. The crown is yours. Now, as promised, the help is on the way. Julio Teheran is a New York Met. So they were like, listen, we're going to go into the season. Listen, David Stearns, love the guy, was very excited he came here. His plan was, we're going to go into the season with this rotation. If Tyler McGill, by some crazy chance, instantly gets hurt, our next fucking arm is going to be a free agent who wasn't even a free agent. He was on another roster at some point earlier in spring. Instead of like, hey, here's our guys in the minors, our next X amount of guys. And I know Senga got hurt. But how the fuck are we already diving into the free agent pool for fucking Phil? Is this crazy or am I just losing my mind? Because this seems like the dumbest fucking thing of all time.
I mean, depth doesn't hurt. I mean, I would at this point, what does hurt? What are you gonna do?
Everything hurts, Phil. That's like the doctor going, where does it hurt? Head, nose to my toes hurts right now, Doc.
It's not even the free agent pool. It's the scrap heap. He got cut by the Orioles. The only reason he signed with them is because he need a quick $100,000 to sign.
Yeah. Listen. We are at the point. They cannot make it any more clear. Max Scherzer said it. They said it. They have done everything except put out a press release like the Rangers did all those years ago and just said, we are on to the future. We're not calling anybody up right now because they're not ready. We're not signing anybody right now because we're not ready to win. This team stinks. David Stearns is here. It is a clean slate, and we are building for the future. It's almost like 2022 was a bad thing because it whet our appetite, but they have every single thing they're doing is signaling we're waving the white flag. We're punting these seasons right now, and we're focusing. Even that interview with Cohen, which we'll get into more, he says, like, I want to win a World Series and I want to make the playoffs, and it's always that second part that they're really serious about, growing the farm and building a sustainable team. And that's a good thing. It's a long-term thing, and it's a thing that requires patience, and you are in New York, and that is not easy. So they can't really say that shit. That's why they probably aren't going to sign Pete, because they're like, we're not going to win right now. But they can't come out and say that because they're never going to sell another fucking ticket for the next 3 years. But everything they're saying and doing, or everything they're doing rather and not saying, is this season is a wash. Next season is probably a wash. And we are on to the future. That's what a move like that is, right? It's like we just need a body to go out there right now while we develop this franchise.
There is a Julio Teheran fact I'd like to say. He was the opening day starter for the Braves in the infamous game that Frank missed on the New Jersey Transit.
Oh, that's a great little tidbit.
He threw 6 innings versus the Mets that day, and we scored 6 off their bullpen.
He was their ace
I was going to say, he was fucking filthy at one point.
We would never miss him in a series when we faced the Braves. Yeah. Every Braves series did face him, it'd be 6 or 7 innings, 1 run
every time. Yeah, it's 10 years ago. So
yeah, I mean,
he's only 23.
You tell me 10 years ago or 5 years ago we got Julio Teheran. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. But now he's at a much different stage of his career. We're at a much different stage with the Mets. And I guess if you could tell me, listen, they just need an arm, go out there. They don't want to bring the kids up yet. They want it to not be fucking snowing out in the morning, the day of their first game. That's fine. I can live with that. It's just like, how... I have to just compose myself. I'm losing myself. I'm going to give myself a stutter if I keep fucking talking like this. I just can't think straight anymore.
You're turning yourself into Joey Langone.
Oh, no.
No.
If Tyler McGill ever starts another game for the New York Mets.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to say anything that like puts my ass on the line. Didn't Portnoy say he was going to do something he regrets?
Yeah,
something happened. And he never did.
It was Brady getting suspended. I think he was like, I'll do something I'll regret if you suspend Brady.
But I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to do anything physically harmful or anything. But that guy, he can pitch. He has to pitch in the bullpen. You cannot have that guy be a starter. You just cannot do it. His body is not made for it. He was a reliever in college. His brother is a reliever in the big leagues. And every time he starts, he gets hurt. Like, what's the point of having him on the roster if he's just going to go on the IL?
It's just, it doesn't work. You literally have like a carbon copy of him doing what that body should be doing. And you just force him to do something he can't do. It's.
Do you think, you brought up Lugo, do you think he's just looking at
the
fire and going, what the hell did I have to do to start? Because all he did was come in for spot starts and he's great. And now we're up the river with no paddle, and he's over there still starting. It's like,
I hope he's lighting his cigarette with the fire we are burning with right now. Yep, those fucking dickheads. I tried to start there for 5 fucking years.
Yeah.
And it was great having him as a bullpen guy, but
He was amazing when he filled in. It was amazing. And Mama McGill, we had like that good moment with him, but it's just, there's a big enough sample here where it's like, all right, I think we know what's going on.
Yeah. So, Kev, you mentioned it earlier. Cohen went on. He had an interview. Was that CNBC he was on?
Yeah, CBS Morning, CNBC, whatever. Let's just, before we really dive into this, like the specifics, did that interview make you feel better or worse about Cohen? I actually should, by the way, I didn't watch the whole interview. I just saw clips. So I really haven't given a full watch, but I just watched like the highlights that I'm sure we all saw.
Didn't make me feel any different. So.
Yeah, same here. I was pretty much the same. I only saw clips
I wanted to see if some people thought that was like a bad appearance. I thought him being like, I know, Kyle, you sent it to the group saying like we're a literal charity case when he said it's my, I consider this a philanthropic effort, but that is a good thing to me. Like that's what he just kind of used, like the words that make you sound like a Make-A-Wish kid. But like George Steinbrenner used to lose money on the Yankees and he was like, I don't fucking care because it's not business for me. It's about winning. For him, like, and that was a very, very genuine reaction when the interviewer was like, well, you don't want to like lose money or whatever. And he was like, I don't care. Like whatever he said, he was like, no, I do. I just want to win. That's it. It was a very real reaction that made me like, oh, he really, really means it, that he does not care about losing money or making money on them. And he is just doing it to make the fans happy. And if you remember, I mean, I wrote the open letter to Steve Cohen, 5 years ago now? And I said that to him, like, you have a chance to make millions of people, like generations of families happy. And I think he really knows that and believes that. And that's why he's doing it. So I felt like that was a good thing to be like, I consider this one of my almost like, this is not a business for me. This is a art project. This is something I want to see through for the people. I love that. So I'm still, anybody who's still, you just have to always remember that in terms of an ownership, we are at like the blip of the finish of the starting line, and they still have so much to turn around that anybody losing faith in ownership at this point, like I do wish they would be a little more transparent. I think if they came out and said, we wanted David Stearns, we brought him in, he wanted a clean slate, we have a vision for the future, and we're not going to mortgage the future right now. I think that would be better. I know you lose money, people don't go to the games, but I think that's better for the overall messaging to the team. If you say we are building for the future to be like the Braves and the Dodgers and the Astros, where you'll be in it every year. Don't worry, just give us, a few more years. I think that would be smarter. Other than that, I'm still like, King Cohen all the way. I said it in that letter. I meant it, and I think Mets fans meant it at the time, and a lot of them seem to jump ship pretty quickly. I said, if you buy this team, I will follow you to the ends of the earth. I will go to the depths of hell. And the first few years are rocky, and people are ready to bail. It's like you really don't remember how bad it was with the Wilpons. So please go back and read that blog or go back and remember how it was and recognize that, yeah, of course the first years are going to be the rocky ones. Those are the hard ones where you're turning it around. So if you can't make it through these years, you were never going to make it through anything. So go back and remember what it was like. Because I saw comments of people being like, yes, like this is it. Everything you said is true. This is how we feel. And now I feel like people turn around real quick being like, well, where's the money and where's the winning? And it's like, well, it's not, he's not a fucking magical wizard. There's still some hurdles to overcome when you're the goddamn New York Mets.
I mean, you want to say, where's the money? They still have the highest payroll in all of baseball, even with the Dodgers spending $1 billion.
And would $400 million Yamamoto make things better right now? I think if anything, we'd be like, oh shit, we have a bad contract on a bad team.
Could you imagine Yamamoto's first start or this all Ohtani stuff happening in New York? What the radio stations would say? No wonder nobody wants to come here.
I was saying it's the Ohtani gambling situation is the case study for go to LA, go to California. If you're a free agent, go to the Angels, go to the Padres, go to the Dodgers, go to the Giants. Nobody fucking cares. If there was a New York baseball player caught wiring millions of dollars to an illegal bookie, they wouldn't be talking about anything else for weeks on end. And instead it was like, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. We don't care. And honestly, that's how they should react, because who really cares? It's gambling. It's legalized pretty much everywhere else. But it's just the fact that in LA, you can do literally whatever you want and nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of like with the Nets when they had all that shit went down with Kyrie and then the whole big three in the Nets and no one gave a fuck. If that happened across the river with the Knicks, it would have been just they'd be getting dunked on every day and people would still be bringing it up. And it's like it never even happened. Like Kevin Durant was a professional basketball player in New York for years. And it's like he was never even here. It's fucking crazy. Like
that was one of the times that like I knew the Nets were irrelevant, but I was like, wow. You know, you can give them 3 of the best players in the league and nobody fucking cares. I think if they won, people wouldn't have cared. I honestly think people would have been like, there would have been some Nets fans celebrating and they would have been like, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it would have been like, you know, when you like are like trying to remember Super Bowl. Sometimes I try to remember Super Bowls and I always forget like that Bucks one with that good defense. You know, when they played the Raiders.
Yeah, it's just that one.
You would forget the Nets. You'd be like, oh, someone else won in between like the Warriors and then, you know, that other year. And you'd be trying to figure it out with the Nuggets and it would be the Nets. So, by the way, the Knicks were supposed to be like the breath mint we'd have on this podcast to kind of get us through the dark days, at least early in the year. And Julius Randle out for the season, we're losing Phil. Like we're witnessing like the origin story of a supervillain essentially by broadcasting all this shit.
But this is it, man. This is the life. This is the life, Bill. I mean, like this is what we did we still are doing, but we, you know, our entire childhood into adulthood, this is what it was. This is what it always is.
I mean, not talking about the Knicks, but that January was so fun. And then Frank had to dap up OG and
the curse of the tank.
Why did he become a Knicks fan? Like I have to talk to Jenks about this. Like Frank, I can't speak because of it.
Literally, Frank like should know. It's like it's the touch. Like if you touch Frank, if you touch us, we are radioactive. We are the losers. Like you don't come near us. You can catch this disease, and that's what happened. OG caught the Frank.
He's walking with Don Mattingly right now. I'm tempted to just fade to Blue Jays tomorrow just because.
By the fucking way, for a guy who loves to run his mouth and call other people fraud fans, if we were palling it up with a Yankees legend, he would lose his fucking mind. So shut the fuck up, Frank. Walking with Don Mattingly, suck my dick.
Oh God, yeah. So the Knicks, I do think there is a chance that the Knicks go on a run if OG comes back healthy. I think the Knicks could go on like a run in the playoffs because they were awesome with him even without Randall. And like everyone's gonna be like, Randall did kind of suck in the playoffs. Like maybe we don't need him at all. It's just gonna make things that much harder, and it's gonna make this fucking hellhole sports life we're living in that much harder.
Oh my sweet Clem, still thinking that something good is gonna happen.
I mean, at least we had the 90s, which again, it was like, oh, we get to lose to Jordan. We get to lose to Jordan. We get to lose gut-wrenching finals games. And then, you know, get to lose to Jordan again. Poor Phil, he grew up in the darkness. He is Bane. He has not seen the light, you know?
But you know what? Like, it's good that you brought up the 90s with the Knicks because, like, the 90s Knicks.
That.
What's that?
I didn't have it. I've had 3 good Knicks seasons in my life.
No, I know. I'm not saying you. I'm saying Clem bringing it up.
Your greatest moment is Linsanity.
It's important to note, though, because what the 90s Knicks had, they didn't win the title, but what the 90s Knicks had is what Cohen is trying to do with the Mets. We loved the 90s with the Knicks because they were always in it. It was just like an automatic every year. We're going to be in the playoffs, and we're going to battle Indiana, and we're going to battle Miami, and we're going to battle Chicago. And it was like, we didn't get there, and that sucks. But it was fun every fucking season. And there were classic moments, and there were big wins, and there were crushing losses, but it was always there. And I know that's basketball, and half the league makes the playoffs, and it's very different. But baseball's kind of going that direction, and that's what they're trying to build. And I promise you that if you got to give up a few years now to have years like that, I will sign for that in a heartbeat because it's awesome just knowing, like, pencil it in. We will be in October. We'll change your life for years to come if we can get there.
By the way, it's crazy when people get mad at Cohen for being pragmatic about the entire situation and being like, oh, he's using the Mets to then, you know, open the casino and have the golf team and do this and that. And I'm like, he's a businessman. If he's going to take all the money that he's putting into those businesses and then infuse the team with money down the road because he's worth $20 billion, then let him do whatever he wants because he's been successful his entire life. Like, barring his private jet crashing, I think at some point he's going to get us to the promised land. So it's like, please knock on all the wood you got, make sure he's going to all his doctor appointments, Alex. Because it's just inevitable. But it's like you need to you're losing the forest through the trees type of thing.
Yes, and I can't. The people. I go on both ways with this. I understand that the Mets tend to do things that are just unnecessary and give you bad headlines and LOL Mets material for the internet. On the other hand, if you still really get work, that's a young man's thing. I used to do it too. There would have been a day 10 years ago, I would have probably written 10 blogs on the New York Mets dance team and lost my goddamn mind. And maybe I'm older and wiser, or maybe I'm just not as angry anymore, but I'm just like, who cares, man? Who cares that there's a bunch of kids, young kids dancing on the fucking dugout? And then people are like, well, it doesn't fit the vibe of the. Shut the fuck up. It's no different than the Pepsi. I said to somebody, it's no different than the Pepsi Patrol throwing out t-shirts. And we do Piano Man and Take Me Out to the Ball Game when we're down 10-0. We throw out the t-shirts and we do the challenges when we're getting blown out. So you can't tell me that the dance team, it's tone deaf to do all that shit when you're losing like the Mets are. This is just a formal dance team. And I had one fan say to me, he goes, it's not like the Pepsi Patrol. They're doing choreographed ethnic dances. And I said, there it is. There it is. That's your problem. You got a problem with ethnic dances. And that's what your issue is. So be honest with yourself. If you're that upset about the dance team, I think it's something else. I don't think it has to do with the Mets. But that all being said, I do get that we do always do these little things that are like little brother-esque. But all these teams are doing dumb, gimmicky shit. It's just, are you winning while you do it, or are you losing while you do it? That's the only difference.
You're entirely right, but you just can't have someone dance around with the letter L. You have to have some.
I can't do that. Yeah, those are. That's a good point. These are things where it's like, I wish, as always, we could be the PR. I wish they would sit us down and be like, here's our dance team. And we would all say, I don't love it, but okay, you want to do it? Fine. But get that girl out of there with the L, because that's going to be on the internet. Like we could consult that and tell them that's going to happen. They just don't think that way.
Yeah, make it hard for the memers to meme your team.
Yes,
like make them put the L from Photoshop.
Yeah, Photoshop, yeah.
I can live with that.
The crying Jordan in the apple.
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Edwin Diaz has a brand new entrance. He's gonna pitch he's gonna get like 20 saves this year at this rate with this team, right?
Oh,
and
man.
That's the other. If he's not coming in for a save, you don't get the light show. You can just play the music, but I don't need a concert coming in the 9th inning. Which again, it's like, what are we doing? You know, our team is not scoring any runs, and in the 10th inning, we get a free runner on second base. Fucking put him in the 10th inning. What are you doing putting him in the 9th? Makes no sense.
Oh God, feels good to be back, boys. I wish it could have been back in last episode. Be like, guys, this is what you're gonna look like a week later. Got a doubleheader today, so it could all turn around. You never know.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Do we think we have a win by the next episode?
Who do we face? It's not good, right?
The Braves.
2 versus the Tigers, 3 versus the Reds, and then 4 versus the Braves.
I think they're going to split today. We always split double.
Yeah, I mean, doubleheaders are usually like.
If we lose both
today,
today,
doubleheaders.
Look out,
bro. The pitching is so bad. I don't think people are really getting when you.
Jose Buto is up today. Did they bring him up?
These names I'm a pretty diehard baseball fan, but when I see today's probable starters and I see these names, I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that guy.
Third lowest ERA in the majors. Just remember that right now. Third lowest ERA in the majors.
Let's keep it going. By the way, Adrian Hauser is the starter for the early game today, which is I'm so happy Kevin gets to get that right off the bat, followed by the butt man, which I'm happy we got the butt man up, Jose Buto. So when it's all said and done, you can either cancel the season or you could believe. So gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Console.